must pay physically. And on that note,
all right, yeah. So we're talking folks that should have been champion that at this moment have not been champion or never were. I did a runner-up, Colin. I want to hear what you think of this. My runner-up, who's not on my list, is the $1 Million Man. Because
he's way up there on mine.
Well, I'm going to tell you here. We can talk about why, but my main thing is his title reign where he paid Andre the Giant to give him the belt and make him champion. That should have absolutely counted because that's exactly the way that this character should have won the title. In any other sport, if a rich person paid someone enough money, like they'd be the champion. That is a real thing that could have happened. The fact that wrestling is that doesn't count, but the crazy way that other people like win the belt does is bananas.
I agree, and that's why he's way up there on mine. And he was like he was the fucking glue that made all these good guys good for so long because he was so dastardly.
I agree. To me, he has already been a champion. So that's why he's my runner-up.
It ain't on the record books, so I gotta put him on.
That's fucked up. Yeah, for sure.
My honorable mentions would be a couple modern people, like a Ricochet,
right?
Like a Sami Zayn.
Because
we're not talking NXT championship,
right? That's a big thing. We are only talking what is it? The Big Six?
NWA, WCW, WWF, AEW, ECW, IWGP.
Yeah, not nowadays NWA.
Right.
Original became WCW, NWA, NJPW, AEW, and WWE. That's it. Right. No AAA, no CMLL, no Lucha Underground, no NXT.
Yeah,
that's a big. I feel like that might be like a hot debate for whatever reason.
Just this conversation, and there's not many modern people on my list, so it's like it would be hard for me to even do that, regardless. But that's why
I got a bunch.
NXT. Oh, well, that's good. That'll be good for us to talk about because NXT aside, Sami Zayn has not been a world champion, and when he debuted, kind of re-debuted and had that little program with John Cena, and immediately dislocated his shoulder.
Yeah,
I felt like they had the next John Cena with him.
Yes, I agree. Sami Zayn as a babyface should have been the big thing, but it's just one of those things where he's never going to be world champion in WWE because he's a little guy.
Yeah,
he's a little guy, and he doesn't have a million muscles, and I don't know. They've never. Kevin Owens is the only not buff guy in the world that they've given the belt to. So I don't know.
Of late for sure.
Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Before that, but that in between those two guys, no one has not been buff. At minimum,
there's a lot of. I honestly, somebody said Tomohiro Ishii. I really didn't even kind of look at the IWGP lineage. But there's a lot of guys over there that should be champs. So I hope that you have some of those so we can talk about them.
Yep.
Do you want me to start with my number 10?
Huh?
You want me to do my number 10?
Yeah, you go first.
My number 10, this is my modern pick.
Okay.
And now I feel like I can do this works because he's not in WWE anymore.
Right.
Cesaro.
That's a classic. I thought about putting him on on my list because he's so good, but I guess
it feels like one of the most obvious ball drops that they could have possibly dropped.
I probably would have put him on my list, but I think I started watching wrestling a little too late. And what I've seen of Cesaro is I've only seen the tag team.
That's Crazy, man.
with Sheamus. That's all I've seen, and he rocks.
So
He's great.
insane.
I just did not know that there was this missed push of his. I didn't see it. I
Missed
missed it.
push, but also just like missed talent. He's got everything. He speaks fucking 7 languages. He could pick up anybody. He can do a big slam to anybody. So that should fit your number 1 criteria there.
Big slam. I do love him doing big slams, spinning.
I love
the spin.
So he was in this team with Jack Swagger, as maybe you know, the Real Americans, and broke off with that to kind of re-debut at WrestleMania as this surprise entrant in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal with Paul Heyman.
Jesus.
And he won that. He was the 31st guy. They were like, there's an extra guy. It's Cesaro with Paul Heyman. And he wins by slamming the Big Show out of the ring. And it was
That's
like,
insane.
oh, we have the next big star.
Yeah.
And then nothing.
Man, see, if I had seen that, you know, I would have been like more on the train. I was like, yeah, that guy's really good. But to him, he feels like he felt like, just from what I know, I'm like, oh, he's like a Ricochet. Like they never did anything. Like he never got his chance to shine. But apparently,
and like he didn't get his chance to shine to his full potential, but he just could have done so much more. He is currently capable of more, and I'm sure he will do that somewhere else.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. I'm excited for his future because my God, what a wrestler he is. He rocks. I love that he's a little coffee boy. I love that he loves espresso so much. It's great.
Big
Mostly
coffee.
he's a big guy with a little cup.
Exactly.
But what's not to love?
Sold, you know?
Yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
He should bring a little cup to the ring. That's
Agreed.
what I want to see.
Agreed.
Beret, little cup. My number 10. This is gonna feel like an ass kiss based off of like 2 weeks ago, but there's like a real gripe that I have with this. So Brody King is my number 10. But here's my gripe. The one Ring of Honor pay-per-view that I ever watched was I got confused and I thought Brody King was in the title match. I wanted to watch like Danhausen to support him, and I was like,
and Danhausen was probably. It's funny because half the crowd was probably painted in Danhausen paint.
Yeah,
and he was on like the pre-show.
He was on. It was like him wrestling for a contract, and then I was like, I saw that match, and it was like one roll up, and I was like, oh, okay, well, at least he's on TV, and also, at least like I get to watch. At least like Brody King's in the title match and he'll win the title. Like, and then I found out he's not in the title match. He like lost the match. And for forever, I was like, I assumed that Brody King was like one of the top Ring of Honor guys. I just thought that's absolutely.
He was, man. It's crazy. I mean, if you like looking at the Ring of Honor stuff, he had that main event against Rush for the world title, and it was like completely his time. Yes. Like had a new team of guys, of like the coolest guys in the company and out of the company.
Right.
Like it's crazy that nothing was really done with that.
That's why he's my number 10, because like I fucked up. I didn't pay attention to the story or whatever, but literally the fact that he has a vibe to him where I literally assumed that he was fighting and gonna win the title.
Yeah.
Just based on like vague promos or whatever, he should be like he's number 10 because he just got to AEW and he's doing tag stuff right now, so we haven't seen how he's going to be used, but he's number 10 because I literally just assumed he was a main event title guy.
I mean, he was the biggest physically guy
Yeah.
in a company that like was far past its prime, where like the people, the audience are looking for a guy like that to invest in. Like, oh, this guy's legit, and kind of everybody else in the conversation has been champion already.
Dude, watching that paper, I was like, I am never watching Ring of Honor again. I was in for literally those two guys, and I was like, oh, they like hard fumbled both
both
bags that I was there to participate with. So I was like, never. I'm up. Like, I gotta watch some free AEW Ring of Honor before I fuck with it. Like, I don't. I'm so. It has such a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, that's fair
Because of that.
It's a great pick. But I mean, yeah, there's plenty of time for him, as Ty said in the comments here.
Yeah, there is plenty of time, but it was just that gripe of just like, are you kidding? Like, wait, what? So
I felt that way all the time because he's a singles guy who's kind of inadvertently been locked into tag stuff his whole career.
Yeah.
And then when you see him do single stuff, like against Ishii in the New Japan match, it's like, oh yeah, just this is what that would be like if he did this all the time. And that time will come.
It will. He's a fucking incredible big guy.
Agreed.
And there's just not many of them.
Nope. Especially now. My number 9, ravishing Rick Rude.
Fuck. Yeah.
One of the sexiest men to ever live. A mustachioed, just painting of a man, you know?
100%. It's like it's literally like if you paid Frank Frazetta to draw Tom Selleck.
Yeah.
And then he walked out of the painting.
And like at that time, like when in Rick Rude's heyday, like the quintessential man, the like People magazine sexiest man alive, they all looked like Rick Rude.
Totally. Yeah.
Like so he had such crossover appeal. He carried every story he was in. You know, doing things like putting the fucking person's face on their tights and whatnot. Like that was revolutionary.
Yeah. And as you said, like it not only does everyone look like Rick Rude at this time, this is also Rick Rude's time is like a year or two after 3 Men and a Baby. I'm tying it into the Tom Selleck thing, but
yeah,
3 Men and a Baby is the biggest movie of all time. Like at that moment, like, and no one can believe that it is the most popular movie. Tom Selleck is a shredded mustache guy, and then you got this guy also on TV. 3 Men and a Little Lady is coming out. Like this is the height of this mustache, like shaggy hair look.
Yeah,
like this is it isn't. We're going to talk about this a lot on like a new show that we're putting together, but I literally cannot believe that he was not one of the guys. That Hulk Hogan is a guy over.
But the thing is, he was, and much like a couple other guys on my list, like he was the guy on the bad guy side, and that's like the Intercontinental Championship and the U.S. title meant a lot more then. It was like.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like the work rate title. You know, it was like, oh, this guy's the world champion because he's like the most popular. This guy has this belt, which Rick Rude is synonymous with because he's like the best.
Right.
But it also meant he's next. You know, the IC title, the US title means this guy is next. And he's one of those rare cases where like he was next, but it didn't come.
Yeah, it's a shame. Rick Rude is not on my list, but the reason is I have never seen a Rick Rude match, so I don't know. I don't know. I have no lore.
You're late to this, but he was amazing. The character was better than everybody else's shit.
Yeah,
but you know he had a career-ending injury, and then wanted to come back, and then tragically passed way too soon.
Yeah. It's a shame. I saw after I had already made this list, I did see someone do a tweet comparing like Seth Rollins doing the Shield gear and like Dusty Rhodes's polka dots to the way that Rick Rude would just like put motherfuckers on his like fuck with people by putting either their wife or their own face onto the tights.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I was like, we got to do the show in like 20 minutes, but I wish I could watch like a Rick Rude match and see what I think.
Yeah. He's a genius.
He's a genius. My number 9 is Mr. Perfect.
Number 9?
Number 9.
We're gonna have to talk about him a little later for me.
Okay. Well, Mr. Perfect is just like, I've seen Mr. Perfect matches. He's perfect.
He's perfect.
What can you do?
He can wrestle a broom.
Yeah.
Put the broom over.
Famously on a show I make for GiantBomb.com, you were on an episode talking about the Macho Man album.
Perfect friend.
You described him as the best looking person. The best looking man that ever lived.
That ever lived, dude. You got to see this guy catch his own football with the best promo, the best vignettes ever, dude. The sports vignettes.
Yeah.
The he's perfect thing. They've never topped that.
It's
but
great.
we got to talk about him a little later because
we're going to talk about him a little later, but
deep in mind.
There was I've seen him wrestle a bunch of different people, and it just didn't make sense. Like he absolutely should have been a heel champion. The fact that he was in both WWF and WCW, and neither of them
the same thing,
put the big title on him is pretty crazy.
He was he's the guy where you're like, oh, Kurt, you're amazing. Make him look amazing. You know?
Totally. Yeah.
That's the thing, is like that you use the best guy to make a guy who's not the best guy look like the best guy.
Totally.
And that was his curse. But now every wrestler ever is like, will go on record to be like, yeah, I worship Kurt as a human being and as a professional.
Totally.
But yeah, we'll get there a little more on Kurt a little later. My number 8, as somebody said in the comments here just now, is Arn Anderson.
Oh shit.
The Enforcer, Arn Anderson, permanently synonymous with the likes of Ric Flair, Tully Blanchard, who was also not a world champion. Even the later Horsemen groups like fucking Brian Pillman and Chris Benoit, a lot of world champions. Arn was so attached to Rick in their glory days that like he was part of the title story because he was part of Rick, but never got to have his own little time. And WCW was and we're going to talk about it in our new show as you referenced. Well, I'm not going to spoil details yet, but they were teasing it. They were like, maybe we're going to make Arn the guy. And then it swerved into this other story, which was kind of fucking awesome. But at the same time, it was really exciting that like it made sense because Arn is the guy looking out for Rick all this time. And yeah, he's losing the go home matches and stuff. But like, I believe Arn could whoop Rick's ass even then.
Right.
And so it makes sense from like a psychological standpoint, from a logical story standpoint, that Arn, given the opportunity, could beat Rick for the title. So it's a shame that we never got there.
Like they never pulled a Wardlow MJF or Batista Triple H with that.
They started to. And then it was this beautiful swerve. And you'll see when we start doing our other show together.
We'll get into it.
Yeah.
But Arn's a good pick. I don't know a lot about him other than getting the Glock. But
he's getting an AEW action figure.
Is it just him with a huge gun?
It does not come with a gun, unfortunately. I believe. I'm not. I mean,
Does he have the Arn Soprano shirt?
I hope so. Love that thing.
He should
come with a gun. I'm gonna like carve out his hand so that he can hold a gun and make sure.
Like not just like any gun, like a like a Bishop from X-Men gun, just like a huge,
The fucking
like Rob Liefeld
okay.
drawing of a gun. Or it looks like
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I hope so. What's your number 8?
Number 8 for me is Tomohiro Ishii. Actually,
Yeah, it
the
is.
fact the fact that this guy has been around for so long and and has never had the belt not once is a shame.
He's currently tied to that goddamn never open weight title.
That fucking thing. He has had that belt every other year.
Every
When I've
other
been
year,
watching, every other year, he goes into a Wrestle Kingdom with it or to fight for it.
or to fight for it, and it's
He
just
picks
crazy.
it up at Wrestle Kingdom or he drops it at Wrestle Kingdom.
It's straight up, dude. It's exhausting. It needs, first of all, that belt needs to just be the IWGP Open Weight Championship. The never tournament thing.
What
Nobody
the hell
knows.
are you even talking? What are they even
It
talking?
was a tournament,
Right.
the never thing, and it's just not relevant anymore. Nobody knows what that is. So
It's like the it's like
with the IC belt gone, just make that the secondary thing.
it doesn't make any sense. The thing is that I forget what happened, but there was when they did the when Ospreay had to vacate the title, and they ended up putting it on like Shingo. I think that in my mind, that's not the right, that was not the right move, because Shingo deserves to like win it for real. Like not, it felt like they just kind of gave.
Half agree. On Ishii's behalf, I agree.
I
But
think that
Shingo
should
was
have
like,
been. Shingo deserves to actually like win it. Like he's a guy who can. I feel like when you have these like even right now with AEW, when you have interim champions, dude, that's the time to put it on like a popular guy who just like maybe you were never going to give it to him. That's
yeah.
the time to give like that person a run, when you know that there is a time where the champ you planned on is going to come back. Have him beat him, like whatever. Just you put it on Tomohiro Ishii. He has a fucking bop when Ospreay comes back, and then you can have Shingo beat Ospreay, and then do Wrestle Kingdom with Okada. Like give like a younger guy like Shingo, to me, deserves like a big win over one of the big guys. But Tomohiro Ishii, he's the guy who should have had that run in my mind. I
I can see that. It was Shingo's time, and that's what they were. It was like, hey, it's Shingo's time. We can't deny this anymore.
That's fair.
But Ishii has had several times, and he like does great in G1s and beats the top guys all the time.
He's just such a fucking favorite. He's so unique. He beats the shit out of people. Like he's equal parts like terrifying and like, but then he can turn on a dime and he's like an adorable friend. Like him and Orange Cassidy made sense as like a little team. Like it's great. He's great. He should have at least had one title run.
I'm with you. My number 7.
Yeah.
Owen Hart.
Oh shit.
Yep. Gone too soon.
Yep.
But who knows if that's something they would have done had he not tragically been taken from us far too early. Just the way that they utilized him. He had the one big win against Brett. He was European champion.
Yep.
And like
he was
deserved
IC champion.
So much more.
He was also IC.
Yeah, he was IC, but like, and that which should have meant that he's next. You know, as I said earlier.
Yeah,
but it didn't get there for him.
It is a shame. It didn't. I feel like when Brett left, they weren't gonna put it on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like they just weren't.
Which is crazy because like what loyalty it showed
to stick with them.
It's like that would have been the time to be like, your brother's champion.
Yeah, let's.
So can't be all bad here. We're not really the bad guys.
It definitely felt. I can't believe he's not on my list. Fuck. But he's it. It felt like you could have probably like once Brett became like WWF champion, Owen should have beat him. Like that's like at least by cheating, and then you can have Brett win the
But
belt
even
back.
so, like the story's there from the WrestleMania where they wrestled each other.
Totally.
Like
He beat him already.
Owen beat him that night.
Owen should have beat him for the title over that summer.
100%.
Like it's insane that didn't happen.
It's like it was the simplest story they could have told, but I think it was a Hogan creative thing that probably got in the way of it.
Was Hogan still there?
So whenever Brett was champion, it was like because Hogan was doing a movie or something.
Right. It's just like, yeah, that's probably what happened, but I don't know. Like he could have at least, you could at least do that. Feels like the minimum no brainer is he beats him at like in your house, a small thing, and then Brett wins it again at like a SummerSlam or whatever. You do a small thing just so he can have that thing to brag about.
I beat Brett. Yeah.
Like I beat Brett and I beat you for the title. Like then it's more heat on Brett to actually beat him to get the title back.
And no matter how much we argue,
forever, you can just do that forever. Because
I agree.
Like I don't know.
But they drop the ball as they do,
they be doing.
And you know, it didn't tarnish his legacy at all because he's still, again, much like Mr. Perfect, just universally beloved by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But wish I could have seen it.
I do too. My number 7, since we are not counting AAA or Lucha or whatever, Rey Fenix is number 7. This guy every night he comes out, he's the most. Anytime he's done with the match, he is the most over wrestler by the end of it. Like
I think
it's over in the building.
I think it's inevitable that it happens.
It has to. It really. I'm worried they won't because of like I think the language barrier for him is going to be a problem, or I don't know. I'm worried they have too many people in their minds like that need to be championed before him, and he wrestles so hard he might be out. Like he's one of those guys where it's like his time is really right now and he's not in the plan.
Right.
And it's a shame because he might be too banged up in a couple of years when they might have wanted to do it.
It's possible. But yeah, he's like from a physical athletic standpoint, he's kind of in a league of his own.
Yeah, he's in a league of his own. He's so fucking he's the only person JR is just floored.
He's speechless every time
he gets in the ring. Yeah. JR is fucking over it. Yeah. JR has been doing this for 60 goddamn. He's done this more than anything else in his entire life. Yeah. He is 90 years old. He's too tired. But anytime Rey Fenix is out there, he's just like, my God, what a world this is.
He really is. He's like, this is what a match is having. What gentlemen.
Isn't wrestling amazing?
Yeah.
Like,
good God, folks.
Yeah, JR has seen has sat in front of Mick Foley falling through a table, but still, anytime Rey Fenix is doing something, he's just like, "What an amazing planet!"
Yeah,
life is truly something. Like it's so funny.
It's true, and I feel the same whenever I see. Every time he wrestles, I see something I've never seen.
Yeah,
and that's what more can you want?
He should be a real proper top like top promotion champion.
Agreed.
Yeah.
My number 6. And, it's kind of because he's underrated everywhere he goes. He's underutilized. He's used as a joke a lot of the time. Sometimes it's by his own doing, per his own admission.
Right.
William Regal.
That makes sense.
He's 9 out of 10 times, like 90% of the companies, 99% of the companies he's working in at the time, he's the best worker they got from like a technical standpoint. You can put him against anybody and you'll actually have something that resembles like what we see modernly, where it's just like these guys, it's just action, technicality, high drama. His facials are some of the best ever, just in terms of like him physically telling the story. How he describes Bryan Danielson is how I've seen him
be
forever.
Yeah, I've only seen William Regal have one proper match. I just haven't seen it. I've seen him being a compelling on-screen presence since I've been watching wrestling. I mostly know him as like Papa NXT.
Sure.
Like he's just the on-screen dad. War Games. Like that's what I know. I've seen him wrestle Chris Jericho at a WrestleMania. I forgot which one. But that's the only match I've seen him have. So he's just another one of these guys. Like if I had more reference point to like I could put him on my list and just, agree with a list I read, but that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, no,
I gotta see the quality.
And he's a technical mastermind, is what you'll notice immediately.
I believe it, because all of his stuff in the one match I watched, I'm like, this guy is just dropping all kinds of Zack Sabre Jr. Adjacent submissions all the time.
Yeah. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Kenta. Kenta is a guy, since Kenta showed up in New Japan, when Kenta showed up in the G1, I was like, oh, he's winning it. He's the vibe of this means that he should win it.
Yeah, it was very special because he wasn't a New Japan guy,
Yeah, he wasn't a New Japan guy, and he like showed up. His look was great. His matches were great. Like they had him at a WWE, so they could have really hammered home like this is the guy who invented like
half the things your favorite guys are doing.
Yeah, half of the thing. Like he invented the CM Punk finisher.
Yeah. He's so influential. It's crazy.
It's really crazy. Like now, especially having seen some of his Noah stuff, I'm like, the fuck is everybody doing? This guy.
Yeah. He's been the guy for a long time.
Dude,
I don't know if it's that he's been like injury prone the second kind of latter half of his career, but somebody needs to step up.
Dude, Naito wins the belt, and then Kenta attacks him and holds like after Wrestle Kingdom. They decide to not put the belt on him a month at the next feud. They put the belt on Evil, instead of Kenta.
I don't see. I thought that was cool, and I'm not looking at this from a Kenta perspective, but I didn't have the visceral reaction that the rest of the world seems to have when Evil won.
I don't care. Evil deserves to win it, but he's not fucking Kenta. You have Kenta.
Yeah.
You have Kenta is the next. If you're gonna beat a guy quickly, it should have been Kenta. Like Kenta has been in New Japan for 2 years, and he should have won the belt like 13 times.
Sure.
It's really nuts. I feel like they do not realize that he's one of their magic guys. Like
they might now, and that's why they made such a rush to sign him when he was free. But they could still be doing more. Anybody could
He
be doing
deserves
more.
the rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My number 5.
Mm.
One of the great characters ever. One of the great promos ever. Jake the Snake Roberts.
Mm.
One of the best Jim Johnston themes as well that I'm not even sure we
We didn't even talk about that.
we
I've
got
never
to
even
talk
heard
about.
it.
He's you're not gonna find a classic wrestling fan who will speak poorly about Jake the Snake or his work ethic or his in-ring work. He's a straight up all like a legend. Like if Mount Rushmore was like 8 guys, he might be on it.
Yeah, he is the reference that everyone says when they're cutting a heel promo.
Yeah.
I straight up earlier this week, I was listening to a nerdy podcast, and Chris Gethard is on it. Chris Gethard's just like,
is that how you say his name?
Gethard, yeah.
Man, I figured it was Get Hard all this time.
Get Hard. Listen, that is his hardcore band.
He has a hardcore band?
No, he should though. It'd be fun.
Let's do it for him.
Yeah, Geth, let's do it.
Yeah.
He's from New Jersey. He's been to hardcore. He's been punched.
Okay.
But I'm listening to him on a podcast, and he's like talking about how he's playing heel, and he's like, I'm doing a Jake the Snake Roberts. Just that's the like he said wrestling and then Jake the Snake Roberts to explain like that is he's a cultural reference.
Prolific. I mean, you have the Road Warrior pop for a loud reaction.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an I'm doing a Jake the Snake where you're like a character driven bad guy.
Yeah.
That's what that means.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a world champion.
Just literally on a podcast that has nothing to do with wrestling, just like regular ass nerds.
And nobody hears that and goes, nobody goes, what does that mean?
Yeah, they're like, oh, I got you.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And everybody, and if someone doesn't know, they're gonna Google it and get it.
And in 30 seconds be like, oh, he's really scary and serious.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, he should be. All right. My number 5. He started as my number 1. He's number 1 on everyone else's list. But my number 5 is Roddy Piper.
He's a bit higher on mine.
Of course. I'm not surprised. This top 5 is just
I get it.
All interchangeable.
It's based on Jordan. It's
based on
I get it.
Stuff. I fucking love Roddy Piper. I've seen a lot of his shit. He's incredible. It's a no-brainer. He's honestly not number 1 because it would, in my mind, I'm like, I feel like I put him
feel dishonest.
6. It's just like it would have been almost expected, and it wouldn't totally be true about like guys I am hot about.
Yeah,
it's
got to be personal. That's why he is where he is on mine. But
we'll talk about Roddy when we get to you.
Okay, my number 4, as you referenced earlier, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. That's a guy who, like Rick Rude, was on the heel end of like the greatest wrestling stories in the golden era of wrestling. Like right. He was the guy that the top guy was fighting with. Yeah. Savage at WrestleMania, Hogan, WrestleMania, and every other month of his life.
Yeah. The fact that they don't count the reign is why though?
It was Hogan type creative where it's like, but also people loved that.
What do you mean?
Like when they were like, we can't recognize this reign. It's not legal. The crowd roared and exploded because they're like, fuck, we hate this guy, And that's just a testament to how good
anything at that moment. Like,
but they hated DiBiase because he was thwarting their heroes every step of the way, which means you're the best fucking heel ever.
Dude, totally. It don't make no sense because technically Andre the Giant gets the title run from that. Like he's counted as champion. But if the transaction of the belt happens, like I don't know. They should have just let him have it. I
I
think it's
agree,
fucking
but
dumb.
it was a storyline thing that people responded to positively. No matter what the history books say from it, it's not a recognized reign as much as it should be. He should have had a fucking 365-day reign of terror at some point.
Yeah, he should have had the belt
forever.
Carried this to the WrestleMania where Macho Man can beat him. Like
instead of a tournament in one day.
I'm not gonna watch. I didn't watch that WrestleMania because it's just I can't look at that much Donald Trump shit. That's a lot of shit.
It's a mess, but by the end of it, like it's so sick for Macho Man.
I love it. I watched the WrestleMania 7, and that also rocked.
Absolutely.
He beat Rick. I'm like, he's got that one. He's got a second Mania where he wins the belt.
There you go. He sure does. Yeah, that's I'm a DiBiase lifer, especially now as an adult, where you can go back and see that, like, oh, none of this works without you.
Yeah.
And him and Roddy are the guys where that, like him, Roddy, and Rick Rude, like whatever is working that the audience is cheering for doesn't work without these guys doing what they just did.
Totally.
So that's number 4.
My number 4, Pentagon Jr. Pentagon Jr., dude, is the first. I've talked about this with you a bunch of times. I know that no one gives a shit about Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground is silly nonsense to most folks, but to me, like, it's getting like that's the show that like got me to appreciate wrestling.
Sure.
And man, the full like season 2 to season 3 arc of Pentagon becoming the guy to win the title and then carry the title afterwards is truly, it's the only time I have seen a great build to a guy winning a belt, and then the expectation of them with the belt is also fucking sick. Like, it's one of the most crafty, like exciting, like heel belt wins I've seen. And just, dude, this guy, anytime he goes anywhere except for AEW, like he becomes the champ. He wasn't even an Impact guy, and he went into Impact and like won the belt because he was too popular.
Yeah.
He's
the coolest looking wrestler ever.
He's the coolest looking wrestler ever, and the reason that he should be the champion, even over his brother, I would say, is his fucking charisma doesn't even need any language. Like, he doesn't actually need Alex to do anything. He can just go out there and
He's got to do the thing forever.
He does the thing,
and people will cheer till they're dead.
Till they're fucking dead. And his match style is like, he's obviously not as like in-ring impressive as Rey Fenix. No one is, like, but the sheer charisma of it, and the fact that I have seen this guy be world champion in smaller like companies and just kill it.
Yeah.
Just feel like he should be the guy, puts him high on this list. And he's also high on it because, again, it's the same problem as Rey Fenix. Like, they do not have room for him to be their world champion, even though he really fucking should be.
Sure.
I was like like he at the first AEW thing, like All In, like he is wrestling Kenny Omega, the IWGP champion, as the like Lucha Underground and AAA champion. Like he's a guy, and I think people.
Yeah, he's been a guy. And I think what's happening here and what is working for AEW is their tag division is another world champion division. Like that's
Right.
how we're supposed to look at it. Like it's kind of the same amount of prestige in those titles, and that's how
Totally.
they're like bringing tag wrestling back, and it's super effective.
It rocks.
And him and Phoenix are locked into that, and now with Pac, they're in this trios division, I guess, that
Right.
is also fucking crazy stacked. That it's like they don't have to make him world champion because those two are so perfect at what they're doing that they're like the foundation of this whole other side of the business of their company structure. So yeah, I don't see it ever really happening for them because of that.
That's why he's number 4, because it won't ever happen, and it's a mistake. Because I love the tag team. I love the tag team of the Lucha Brothers, but literally having seen like Lucha Underground, see what he does as a singles wrestler, the creative shit that they do, like him as a bad guy against like Ricochet is sick. It fucking rules. There's one of my favorite a wrestling thing I'll never forget is where the entire episode of Lucha Underground is Penta being a piece of shit, fighting Io Shirai and Kairi Sane and I'm one other wrestler that I can't remember. He wrestles all of them, and that's the entire episode. Is he's beating the shit out of these badass women, and they are kicking his ass too. And it's one of the most exciting things I've ever seen. It's the best episode of the actual show. It fucking rules. He's the shit. He can do the fact that it feels that the character that he plays as a singles wrestler is so separate from him as this babyface tag team guy is crazy. He's incredible.
Love him.
Number 3.
Day one fan.
Day one fan.
My number 3 is Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig.
Fuck yeah.
So, we've talked about him a bit. Legit perfect. I got another guy who's universally beloved. Just never had that run because he was too good at making other guys look good.
Yeah.
That was his role everywhere he went. Hey, Kurt, make Goldberg look good. Hey, Kurt.
Yeah.
Make Shawn Michaels look like there was always somebody.
Is there anybody who would have been like a better, like when you can't do Shawn and Brett, like do like Kurt and Shawn? Like he should have been the third one of those guys, Yeah.
I mean, I think he's quite a bit bigger than them. So I don't like Shawn and Brett have like more chemistry than anyone ever against their will.
Yeah.
I'm sure Kurt would have been perfect in that scenario because he's just.
Well, I've seen Kurt wrestle Brett.
Yeah.
That's one of the matches I've seen, and they are the same size.
Okay. That makes sense. They're about 6 feet, 6'1" or so.
Mm-hmm.
He's built like a fucking brick shithouse though. Like he's legit. He was a like shoot amateur wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Man, it's just such a shame. The last 3 for me are like such no-brainers that it hurts to talk about. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Scott Hall.
Number 3? Fucking hell. We're gonna need to wait a second then.
Listen, he was the other, like, I originally pushed Roddy Piper down for Scott Hall because Scott Hall I think is the biggest, like, how is he not the biggest wrestler of all time?
Yeah, let's wait because I got a lot to say about that.
Yeah. We'll wait on Scott Hall, but of course we did a whole episode on Scott Hall. We love Scott Hall.
My number 2 is Roddy Piper, which we've brushed on a little bit, but headline the first WrestleMania.
It feels like these last 3 are just like emotionally like this is. It feels like you're in a true crime documentary.
It really does, man, because it's just like like this is somebody's fault, and it's not there.
Yeah.
You know, like somebody actively fucked this up.
Totally.
Piper's Pit is still to this day ripped off once a week.
Yep.
You know, his promo ability, his way to sell a story. Even later in WCW, he came in and had like beat Hogan as the champion in 9 non-title matches.
Dude, I saw that. I watched a Starrcade, and they changed.
Yeah,
they changed that post. They said afterwards, "Oh, it turns out that match was non-title on commentary."
Yes.
In the building, he won the belt.
Yes, which means like it was I mean, you have to guess that was Hogan being like, "What if he beats me but doesn't win the belt, brother?" And like, I just
what a
fuck
fucking
you.
bag of shit.
At this point, can I just say fuck you? You know, like what? How do I?
Dude, your entire list are people that Hogan fucked over.
Kinda, yeah, for the most part.
Hogan didn't give any of these people a shot, and they deserved a shot.
Like,
it's part of the reason that mine only has like 3 guys from that era, because it we would have just been like,
this is basically an hour of anti-Hogan.
Yeah,
Roddy, man, and like and he had that he was a crossover god. Like the world fell in love with him. Look at They Live, dude.
Dude, They Live. Hell Comes to Frogtown also.
Yeah.
He was good even at like, he's the guy who pops on like, you know, like he was on the Bill Maher episode where Bill Maher was like trying to make fun of wrestling, and then like literally turns the whole thing on Bill Maher, and Bill Maher looks like a fucking idiot.
Yeah, he feels bad.
He's like, ah, shit.
Yeah. And he's just starting with like, I got a broken hip, I got a broken collarbone. Like even if that was or wasn't real, like I'm buying what you're selling, brother.
Dude, yeah, he's an incredible performer. He was good in literally everything that he does.
Did you ever watch Legends House?
Huh?
Did you ever watch Legends House?
No, I don't know what that is.
You have to do it tonight.
Okay, what is it?
Log on. It was a reality show that they shot to start the network with a bunch of, it was like Mean Gene, Jimmy Hart, Roddy Piper, Tony Atlas, all living in a house together. Like playing games and shit.
Is it it's just nuts?
It's nuts and it's hilarious, and there's some like beautifully crushing moments with Roddy.
Roddy is just like, he's the guy who should have been the guy. Apparently no one put the belt on him because Roddy refused to lose. Apparently that is the reason that he
lost all the time.
Apparently he?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's just like, that just sounds insane.
Well, I just doing the research, the only actual like pinfall loss that I like in a prominent match that he actually has is Bret Hart beating him, like in the WWF.
He did business, man. So I don't know. I don't think that would have been the case.
I think in the territory era, he didn't let himself lose. And he doesn't lose at like, I think that's like part of the reason why WrestleMania 1 is not a singles match where Roddy loses to Hogan. It's the fucking weird thing so that Hogan can beat Paul Orndorff.
And it's a shame. A lot of guys were like that. And that comes from a piece of advice that Kevin Nash says all the time, where he's like, the only 2 things that are real are the money and the miles.
Right.
And he's like, okay, well, the championship's not real, but you're telling me the guy that is the champion is making the most money? Sounds real to me.
Yeah.
So that's why these guys like Brett and these guys like Roddy who loved wrestling are like, okay, maybe I don't want to lose if that's going to affect my income.
Payday.
Yeah.
Or with Roddy, he's like, with Roddy's logic is like, it's the territories. It's like, I go from this place to this place. If I lose here, I don't have enough heat there, so you can't let me lose because if I go there, like, that's his mentality is that, and he's like, I'm the most, like, outside of, if it wasn't for the Hogan push, like, it probably would have been Roddy, if we're being real. Like, he would have been the guy if he was, if it wasn't for Hogan's ability to like pull shit backstage, as I understand it, Roddy might have just been the fucking guy because he's so much more charismatic and such a better work. Like, his matches are better. Yeah.
Simply put, what's your number 2?
Fucking shame. Number 2. I mean, this is gonna feel a little too topical, but it's MJF.
It's just, but it's gonna happen,
man. You know,
it's gonna happen.
It's gotta.
It's absolutely inevitable, and that's honestly, why I can't put a lot of modern guys on here because it's just gonna happen for some of these dudes. But dude, this one is inevitable.
Here's the thing: for a hot minute, it felt like, for the moment that he might have actually left AEW and gone to WWE, it might have never happened. And retroactively, I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, I would have been, if that's the case, like I go back to like the pandemic era, and I was like, man, MJF probably, like, in a minute, there's an argument for he should have beaten Jon Moxley at the whatever show that was. He's eaten a lot of losses, and it feels like it's inevitable. It feels like it's gonna happen. It definitely does. But there was a moment where, like, when, you know, everything was hot or whatever, and for real or whatever. If he goes to WWE, it won't happen. I don't like it's less likely. So just for that brief moment where I thought that he might leave AEW and then not be the champ, I was like, fuck. It feels inevitable, but for a moment it didn't, and I was like, all right, he can't not be champion.
I think you're working yourself, brother. It's gonna happen.
I know he's gonna do it now, but to me, I'm like,
he's beaten Punk. That's why Punk is not relinquishing, because MJF is gonna beat him at some point.
I think that I think so. But even in my mind, I'm like, this guy's so good, he should have already been a champ. But yeah,
it'll happen.
It will happen. Listen, I said the whole, like, whatever, because we gotta talk about something. He's really good. He's really good. He should be champion.
He's great. He's the best. He's the best there is right now. He's on another level. Speaking of another level, my number 1, Scott Hall, Razor Ramon. So here's my reasoning. There's more to it than just I like the guy, you know?
Yeah.
He was a money-making phenomenon in WWF, not getting paid what he should have been paid.
Yep.
A constant show-stealing character performer, yet not the guy. And he's like, okay, well, if I'm not going to be paid like the guy, then I'm going to leave. I'm going to get somebody else to pay me more. Goes to WCW and is kind of permanently linked with Kevin from the Outsiders and everything.
Right.
And you understand why. But from then on, Kevin was a multi-time world champion. Hogan is a multi-time world champion.
Yeah.
Why at no point could Scott have been the guy?
It feels like Scott should have been the guy. He should, to me, based on the shape of that, he's the idea guy. You know, he's also the best. Like I love me, I love me some Kevin Nash. He's the best worker of the three.
1,000%, dude. And
Yeah,
like Kevin will be the first guy to tell you, "Oh,
totally.
Scott was so much better than me." By far the best worker of the three. By
How was
far the
he
most
not the
creative of
first?
the three.
He he should have been the guy. He also had with the NWO. Uh, the real cool factor of the NWO is the Def Jam side of it, and that is the shit he was pushing. When Eric Bischoff is like, "Ah, you guys are like bikers," it's like it's fucking dorky. It's
Yeah.
not the actual cool stuff. Scott's right. Every Scott idea is Scott had ideas that made other people world champion. Like that's
All the
insane.
time. Like even aside from Sting, there's all these interviews where guys are like, "Oh, that was actually Scott's idea."
Yeah.
It's a crime. That like it's starting with Razor Ramon because he was fucking 6'5", 6'6", or whatever, jacked to the gills, and wrestling for the IC title always. Guys he beat all went on to be world champion. And maybe there's a case to be made that he would have been world champion in WWF.
The only thing that you can point to is the substance abuse and him not being reliable enough to be the champion. But also, fucking everybody was a mess.
Yeah,
Everybody's a drunken mess at that fucking time.
absolutely.
Dude,
It ain't some one fucking one-off case, you know?
no. There he is the I will give you this. Like he is the biggest biff. Like he should have been the biggest wrestler.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should have been the wrestler of the 90s. Like the fact that he is like in the history books as the other guy in the NWO is fucked up.
It's crazy.
It's really fucked up.
And he started it. It all started with him.
Yeah. He's
Like that, none of that happens without Scott coming first.
Right. Totally.
It's a crime.
That's a real crime. You know, I guess here's my question. Because like a couple of these, like when I've, you know, like with Tomohiro Ishii and Kenta and even MJF, like each of those I hit moments of like this is when they should have been champion. Do you have like a Scott Hall should have been champion right here? Like this is the time to make him and they didn't?
Hogan, I mean, like after Lex beat Hogan and it just went back on Hogan.
Yeah.
It could have gone on Scott or Kevin at that time to kind of build the whole NWO as a threat and not just like, oh, Hogan's the guy, but we're going to be in and out of the tag division forever. Because it was like they were like eternally the tag champions and they would lose them, they win them back. I would say after the WrestleMania 10 ladder match as well, being the undisputed Intercontinental Champion should have been the segue to being the world champion.
Totally. Because he's still there at WrestleMania 11. This is a whole nother year of Scott doing Scott stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fucked up. So my number one is entirely I think there are a lot of people that probably have this opinion, but I'm picking this guy because I saw a match of his where I'm like it from the start I was like, oh my god, he needed to win. This whole opinion of him being number one is based around. It was like watching Money in the Bank 2011, but they don't put the belt on Punk, but Punk does not leave.
Mm-hmm.
And my number one is Minoru Suzuki, and there's a match that he has with Okada in England that is completely insane. The crowd is so fucking hot for Suzuki to beat Okada. Like it literally feels like they if any time that someone should have just called an audible and just put the belt on the other guy, it's this match. It's I forget what I think it's like a Dominion or whatever, but it's in Britain. It's got just one of those classic crazy hot like British crowds singing, loving Suzuki. Every near fall feels like they should just do it right now. They should just beat Okada clean right now.
He's just always one of those guys where it's like the legend outweighs the like need to be champion, you know? But you can argue that about anybody we talked about.
Yeah.
It's definitely like you look back and you're like, you'd be sure. You'd be like, oh, he's been champion.
Totally.
But and then you're wrong. And it's shocking.
It is shocking. And he's especially now, I feel like if they went back, they were like, he should have beat Okada, and then we could beat you. Do a 24-hour reign with that guy.
Yeah,
like foot on the rope, whatever.
Put him on the books in some way.
Yeah, put him to get in. Like that moment, that specific moment was like, you're not gonna hurt Okada, and not that version of Okada. He could have lost. The fact that like, you know, I was like, this is Okada that, you know, post maybe it's pre Kenny Omega, but it's just like he's like losing to Jay White and shit. He can lose to a stinker Minoru Suzuki for 24 hours or whatever. Like,
yeah,
he's a guy who feels like he should have been champion and he isn't, and he's at an age now where he can't win it.
It can't happen.
He is the most popular American New Japan guy, or a Japanese New Japan guy, I would say.
In America?
In America, I would say. That's why he's the one who...
I think Okada's still got him beat worldwide.
Maybe. But he's the guy who, like, you know, American shows are just like, bring him back. Keep doing it.
Pay him whatever he wants.
Pay him whatever he wants. Just keep... AEW brings him out, and they're like, we got to keep doing it. Like, we got to keep putting him on these shows. He's had like 6 AEW matches, you know? Like, he feels like a guy who absolutely should have been champion when he was young and the most beautiful man on the planet.
Agreed. Multi-time.
Young Suzuki is as handsome as it gets.
I know men twice our size, twice our age, buff to the gills, real men.
Yeah.
Who have cried meeting him.
Right?
So moved that they're in tears. So,
yeah. That's my number one. But here's the thing. I'm going to submit that Scott Hall is the all-timer. How is he not a world champion? That is
everybody he's associated with, NWO aside, like every guy he's ever had like a legendary match with is a world champion.
Yeah.
It's unacceptable. That's how I would say.
The fact is, it is straight up unacceptable. Yeah. It's fucked up. Scott should have been. We love you. Just I can't shut up about it. His look alone. Like, how was Vince McMahon not like immediately with this guy?
I agree. I do think there's something to argue that it probably would have happened if he had stayed, but like too little, too late. You know,
it is too little, too late. He should have been. Listen, I know that Kevin is taller than him, but he should have had that the run first.
Yeah.
Like, he was winning the IC championship when Diesel hadn't had a match yet. Like, he was just Shawn Michaels' big friend.
Mm-hmm.
Insane.
It's a crime.
Totally insane.
It's a crime, I tell you. And on that note, that's our best guys who were never champion.
That's our favorite guys episode. These are the guys that should have been the top guys.
Yep.
Folks,
so thank you for joining us. Sorry for the tech diffs at the beginning. It's Lightstream's fault, so go yell at them. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna call somebody or something.
Yeah. Colin is gonna be on hold, listening to hold music to let them know that he is upset.
I'm gonna give him a piece of my mind. So I'll let you know what happens and get back to you next week.
All right, sounds great.
All right,
bye everybody.
Thank you. Good night.